right? When a woman cheats, it's premeditated murder. She planned that shit. When a man cheats, it's manslaughter.
You know, just like the red pill. That's another road that leads to nowhere because we're sinners.
That's why nothing bothers me. That's why I lack empathy. That's why I'm a narcissist. Because the world turned me into that shit.
It's kind of crazy how, you know, women will try to make it seem like men and women are the same.
The red pill is the gift that keeps on giving. In my last video, I covered some tactics some influencers use to polarize their audience and increase their influence. And while I stand by that video and all of my points within it, one of the biggest criticisms in my comments was that I only covered creators on one extreme side of the political spectrum. I personally don't think this takes away from my points, but I also figured I could use this as a chance to revisit one of my most contentious topics of the past. 6 months ago, I made a video criticizing several red pill creators, and the response was certainly polarizing. So why not make a new video looking at these creators from the same lens as my last, and examine how they're creating polarizing audiences themselves. After all, many extreme creators online are two sides of the same coin. With the red pill, their motivations are clear. Get people to pay for their online courses worth hundreds of dollars, and they're targeting a vulnerable demographic of lonely young men. So let's revisit the red pill and go over some familiar psychological tactics they use that can polarize audiences just like Noah, Hassan, and friends.
Do you want to be the guy that she called to get dug out? The guy that she calls, I'm coming over, I need to chill with you, I need to see you, she coming out with you, shucking on you, making you bust, making you go nuts? Or do you want to be Mr. Husband material?
Similarly to the first topic of my last video, one tactic red pillers use to get people to buy their ridiculously expensive courses or subscribe to their viewpoints is using the scarcity effect. As I've covered before, scarcity is one of Robert Cialdini's 7 principles of influence, and can motivate people to be more likely to behave the way influencers want them to if they perceive some sort of scarcity or urgency. While Noah Samson may create scarcity by fear-mongering people into believing that normal points can send you down the alt-right pipeline, red pill creators create scarcity by essentially acting like your life will be horrible if you don't buy their course. Let's look at some of StephIsCold's courses. In the coldest program you'll ever get, How to Become Cold, which you can have access to for only $77, Steph, being the film connoisseur that he is, reflects on the scene from The Matrix in which Morpheus gives Neo the choice between the red pill and the blue pill. Well, we can assume that Steph is the red pill in this situation, but what happens if you pick the blue one?
Basically, the blue pill will make him forget that the Matrix even exists. And he will go through life happy and ignorant. But if you take the red pill, he would awaken to the true nature of how things are and have a chance at freedom. And now you're being given the same chance, or should I say the same choice, by being here on this page. Or you take the blue pill and continue to be a beta simp, crybaby, fat, easy manipulated. Or you take the red pill and become cold, become alpha. And let me say this, society will have you thinking that blue pill is the nice, comfortable, but the truth is, if you take the blue pill, your life will be a lot harder. And I know this because I used to be a beta male simp mangina.
Okay. I mean, it's hard to take it seriously, but this is the type of fear-mongering red pillers use to create scarcity and manipulate gullible users who don't want to be fat, simp, loser, beta crybabies. In Steph's course teaching you how to understand women, which will put you back almost $200, Steph explains a myriad of threats that are posed by not paying him to teach you his riz.
This is the kind of course that can literally save your life. All you have to do is click the button below to get started. And you'll want to be quick to get this knowledge because there are so many guys who don't know about this kind of information. And a lot of times they end up divorced, half of their money, assets are taken away. They have to pay their divorced wife and alimony on a monthly basis. They lose their custody of their children and are refused visitation. And this isn't even a rare story. So many guys leave these kinds of stories in the comments of my videos and in my DMs telling me to keep educating people on the truth about what life really is.
Life is pain, So much pain. Pay me $200. My script that I'm reading says your life will be broke pain if you don't pay me $200.
Press on that honestly. She doesn't mind. She's really all about me, and I do believe that. Remember that. Remember what you just said. She's really all about me, and I do believe that. No, you don't.
That was part of a question from his own Patreon supporter, and Steph is fearmongering him into having less faith in his relationship, because people in a happy relationship are less likely to pay for his course about talking to women. In all seriousness though, this is one of the most common things certain Red Pill creators do to get people on their side. They usually have some sort of story where they had a breakup or got cheated on, and then they'll act like everyone in life is out to get you, and the only way to protect yourself is by giving them money. Steph certainly seems to have taken his high school breakup pretty seriously, and what makes this a good strategy is that a lot of people have probably had similar experiences to this in the past, and are trying to avoid it happening again in the future. Not to mention people are scared of becoming fat crybabies and whatnot as well, which they can avoid by taking the red pill from Morpihus. It's also pretty easy to see the efforts Red Pillers make to unify their audience against a specific common enemy. In this case, it would definitely be women. Obviously, it's very common for these creators to refer to women as cold-hearted or shallow, or otherwise imply that they are out to get you.
Women don't give a f about your problems. They don't care. They're just gonna go and find another guy.
Women don't actually care about you, and it's just a fact of female nature that you guys are gonna just have to accept.
But it's also worth examining how they establish women as part of a different group in the first place. A popular way these creators do this is by referencing evolution or going back to the days of hunter-gatherers, in order to say that behaviors that became beneficial back then explain how women behave today.
So we're looking at hunter-gatherer tribes. In those hunter-gatherer tribes, you have a set of roles for each sex. Mm-hmm. So you've got the men who are physically built for combat.
Yes.
I've got stats for that as well.
Facial structure.
Yeah, facial structure.
Because you got the woman, she got that nurturing instinct, to be the mother of that child, to have a child. They got that need to gather, got that need just to be knocked out of the box. They look for a man who can do that on a physical level.
I certainly won't argue that certain behaviors are incentivized through natural and sexual selection, and that at certain times in the past it became necessary for certain behaviors or roles to be prioritized. But I think it's pretty clear that now, in 2024, those things aren't really the difference maker in terms of survival anymore. The only reason these differences are referenced is to solidify women as another group, just like Noah Samson and In Praise of Shadows reference conservatives.
And it's kind of crazy how, women will try to make it seem like men and women are the same.
And once they've established this group, they do their best to make it seem like they're out to get men, and that it's just their nature.
What we have to understand about women is, there's no such thing as like good girl, bad girl, right? They're not synonymous with one another. You just have to call these women women, okay?
Ain't no such thing as a virtuous woman. Ain't no good woman. They just women. And they pussy get wet.
I mean, StephIsCold has a playlist of over 100 videos all on quote-unquote female nature. Not only does this turn men against women and make them more likely to side with the red pillars, discouraging them from consuming other perspectives, but it also opens the door to say things like this.
If you want to play the game, what are you going to do? Well, you need to get in shape, number one. Number two, you got to get your money on point. And then number three, you got to understand female nature, which means inevitably you're going to have to learn game.
Now it becomes really easy to see what motivates these content creators to get their viewers to see women as this separate type of entity. Because now how do you get in shape, get your money on point, and understand female nature? Well, that's easy. You join the High Value Academy for the low price of $697. Or you buy StephIsCold's $200 course on understanding women, or any of the other courses out there that aim to sell the exact same thing. As I pointed out in my prior video, the concept of unity is another one of Robert Cialdini's 7 principles, and one that was added retrospectively because of the very strong effect that identity seemed to have on influencing behaviors. This divisive language, feeding off of possible negative experiences Red Pill viewers have had with women in the past, is possibly one of the leading reasons that someone could unfathomably think to pay $700 to be told how to get in shape or be able to spit mad game.
One of the mandatory ingredients for respect, you guys want to know what it is? Fear.
With people like Noah Samson and Hassan, they want to discourage viewing alternate viewpoints to keep their audience only watching them. But with Fresh and Fit, StephIsCold, and other Red Pillers, it's as simple as dropping a few hundred bones on their courses. A large reason that Red Pill creators have as much influence as they do is that many men have gone through some sort of heartbreak or negative experience, typically involving a woman, and it's easy to give in to the anger and negative emotions involved with these situations. In some cases, they will have their own sob story about how they did their very best or they used to be a quote-unquote simp, but it still didn't work out, which must mean that they were just being taken advantage of and they shouldn't be nice anymore.
I did everything right, man. I did everything right. I did everything my mom told me to do. I did everything my friends and my family told me to do. I did everything that society told me to do, and I lost. And I'll give you guys a story on how I lost.
Why do you think I'm like this now? Why do you think I'm so arrogant? Why do you think nothing bothers me? That's just one of the many stories of people that f*** me over in life. That's why nothing bothers me. That's why I lack empathy. That's why I'm a narcissist. Because the world turned me into that shit.
This mainly relies on the principle of social proof, another of Robert Cialdini's principles that I didn't mention in my prior video, and it provides men with validation regarding the stories from their own lives.
People's choices are often swayed by information of what other people in similar situations have done.
In this case, the people who are similar to the audience are the Red Pill influencers themselves, and they set the precedent for how to behave in response to this situation. The audience will therefore be much easier to persuade to watch their videos, join their courses, and more, especially considering that they may be in a vulnerable condition or be seeking validations for the struggles they're going through. And to this point, Red Pill creators are some of the only few who are making an effort to show people a path they can take after heartbreak. It's just a shame that this is usually either misguided or disingenuous, and involves harmful and negative worldviews that just encourage people to become more hateful.
Just fuck their bitch and they'll turn. All right, as soon as, like, look at how is a bodybuilder made? Someone broke up with him and then they go to the gym and panic.
Ah yes, the way to protect people against the soy boy epidemic is to sleep with their girlfriends, because that's how they become Red Pill bodybuilders. This clip just illustrates that they're definitely aware of who they're targeting and why it works. Another creator I wanted to talk about is this guy, Rom Willis, and his videos on the Body Game Nation. From what I can gather, this is just him in front of a camera for 20+ minutes, rambling about how being muscular attracts women on a primal level, and whatever this is.
When she got the nice breastises and she got the big old round bud down, she got those curves and stuff. What does she look? She looks fertile. She looks like she can produce a baby. Same thing. Now, there's always an argument whether the primary thing is just to have the baby or the primary thing is pleasure. It depends on a lot of different stuff. But think about it. When they on a primal level, when they hit puberty, when that master feminine kicks in, their body changes. When they really just, you know, they got that primal urge to be penetrated.
When they hit puberty?
A woman might go for the quote-unquote bad boy, or they'll go for the jocks. You look in high school, who they going for primarily? Who they going for?
In high school, bro? I mean, I'm sure a lot of women are attracted to muscular men, but like, this guy is really freaking me out. Anyway, there are a couple of other things that others may point out can influence what women are attracted to, and Rom is here to dispel that sentiment.
Oh, Rom, you don't emphasize the face, you don't emphasize height. But your face really is only an extension of your body ultimately. And then you still have to physically do something. Your face is just passive, it's just there. Yeah, if it's great, if it's handsome, yeah, but it's just there. But your arms, your body, you know, you got that, or You know, you got those big shoulders. You look like you can shoulder responsibility.
That's right, the only things other than muscles that women could possibly be attracted to are face and the height. It's good that he took some time to acknowledge a counterpoint, because I was getting concerned he might be focusing too much on one thing. I honestly have no clue what principle of influence I could possibly assign to this conundrum of a video. I really just wanted to throw it because I can't wrap my head around it. It could probably fit within my prior point of lumping women into a separate species to unify men against them, which is something he seems to harp on a lot with his assessment of their primal urges to be penetrated and whatnot. Or I could say he is establishing a sense of authority with this extremely esoteric clip right here.
Women are looking for the power within you. For the metaphysician, men are electric, women are magnetic. They looking for that power. Does the man physically look powerful?
I didn't know Ron was a doctor of metaphysics, but I gotta say that he has me convinced. I guess I didn't think he had the qualifications like that, but I also didn't know StephIsCold was a real psychologist either, so I guess I'm gonna have to give him respect as well.
You know that girl, that one girl with the small waist? You know what I'm talking about, right? And whenever she walked past you and she turned to the side, her booty stick out like a 3D ship. Like as if her booty was made out the Titanic ship sticking out from the side like that.
It also goes without saying that Redpill content creators definitely use personal insults a lot, and definitely more than most leftist creators, with the exception of Hassan, who I included in my last video. This is shown through StephIsCold calling anyone who doesn't take the red pill a fat crybaby beta, or countless examples of calling people simps, soy boys, or any other insult imaginable. Usually these insults are just thrown at people who don't pay for their courses or subscribe to their viewpoints. As I went over in my previous video, using personal insults can lead your audience to see this as an acceptable behavior, and it can also lead them to seeing your opponents as people who are worthy of that type of treatment, and encourages them to go about their own conversations in this way, using insults instead of counter arguments. This also turns people who don't agree with you against you, and lowers your chance of convincing them to join your cause, therefore increasing the polarization of their audience as well. Another behavior I have noted is their propensity for using double standards. Similarly to Noah Samson, a lot of red pillars engage in rules for thee and not for me when it comes to issues like cheating, promiscuity, and superficiality.
It's gonna happen.
I'm saying it's gonna happen.
But is it okay?
For the man to cheat?
Your moral compass is your own. Right or wrong, that's up to you.
Listen,
No, but is
if
it
a dude
okay
cheat,
for the man?
I don't think it's a big deal if a guy has sex with another girl.
You don't think it's a big deal?
Not at all, right? When a woman cheats, it's premeditated murder. She planned that shit. When a man cheats, it's manslaughter. He was driving drunk and he hit somebody.
These are just blatantly hypocritical and weird, and I have no clue why they feel the need to have double standards like this. Not to mention StephIsCold talking about how women are promiscuous cheaters and they're always going to go for whoever gets them wet.
Whoever get her pussy wet, that's what she gon' fuck.
But then hyperfixating on sex himself and making it the goal of whatever he does. Regardless of the BBC team and all that stuff, there's all these weird mentions of digging sticks in hungry guts and all of this weird and disturbing imagery.
Right. You have to understand, when you first meet a woman, bro, you gotta understand that she's getting dug out by somebody.
Using double standards can just serve to solidify in their audience's mind that they are a different group than women and have different natures or whatever, further unifying them and influencing their actions. The biggest problem a lot of people seem to have with my first Red Pill video is that the creators are trying to help people and that I'm just against their self-improvement, when I thought it made it perfectly clear that I'm all for improving your physique, making more money, and taking time for yourself. The thing I had a problem with was that Red Pillers seem to emphasize a lot that these changes are meant to gain respect from other men and make women want to sleep with you.
Once you get all 6 of these, you'll be seen as like a sex god. And I know that sounds cringe, whatever. Just give this a try. And I guarantee the next time you use the dap and cap thing, she'll make animal noises. And you will feel like a fucking G.
Self-improvement is an amazing thing, but the phrase they like to use so often, focus on yourself, is lost when the real motivation behind these actions seem to rely solely on the approval of other people. Focusing on yourself would involve improving your life solely on its own merits and not for external rewards like respect or sex. And to act like these actions are only done for those goals is hypocritical for any red pillar who implies that women are superficial and shallow. There have been many studies that confirm that intrinsic motivation, which is the motivation to do things for their own merits that comes from within yourself, yields much greater results than extrinsic motivations, which involves doing things solely for external rewards and incentives. If there's something I want people to understand about my stance on red pill creators and self-improvement, it's not that all their ideas are bad, but rather that they shouldn't encourage people to do things for the wrong reasons like external validation, but rather for themselves. Also, banking on men who have been hurt in the past by women, or those around them, is only going to motivate them to improve themselves for revenge or to show whoever broke their hearts that they are worth something. And this is an unhealthy mindset. Not only do these people probably not care about them anymore, but focusing your efforts on revenge or gaining validation for others is detrimental to your mental health. So that's my advice and my rant regarding some of the criticism from people who I don't really think watched my whole video. Loyal Golden Boy viewers will also remember that I made a video on the YouTuber Drexler a while ago. What you may not know is that Dre actually responded to this video, if indirectly, and in his response, he stated that he was told about my video but didn't watch it. He also called me view hungry and said I didn't have anything nice to say when he was successful, but now I want to focus on his quote-unquote downfall. It wasn't a very polarizing response, and some of his fans that saw my video and didn't immediately dismiss it were actually very respectful, so I appreciate that. For the most part, I respect Dre's content change and his acceptance of lower view counts, though I stand by my points in the video. However, I have reason to believe that he actually did watch my video, or at least that he was told about some specific parts of it, because he has removed all of the parts I made fun of from his Wake Up War Club website. Now, he only mentions porn addiction to say that other people are addicted to it, and he only references miserable marriages to talk about his friends, which isn't very nice, but I digress. So apparently instead of him being addicted and laughed at by his wife's friends, that's just everyone else. But as for mentions of himself, he only has to say that he's happily married, in good shape, rich, disciplined, etc., and that his cup runneth over. He also specifically denounces the red pill in the beginning of his video pitch, referencing sex and status, which I criticized him for actually advertising in his thumbnails before, despite him expressing disdain for people who push that. He also removed the schizophrenic Zoom meetings I clipped from my video, which I guess justified the false privacy strike I got from just clipping something that was public on his website. I know Dre has renounced the red pill, I just thought it was interesting that he indirectly responded and changed, and I didn't think it was worth making its own video to point that out. Oh, and one final note, he removed the Batman erotica thumbnail. He replaced it with just his face. We have officially changed the world for good, Golden Boy Army. Well, similarly to my last video, I think a good way to end is to encourage you to think for yourself, and make sure to expose yourself to all types of perspectives before letting yourself be swayed by online influencers. It's really easy to identify why red pill creators would be motivated to polarize people, seeing as they have direct monetary incentives to do so, mainly being their courses. I personally think that it's pretty easy to see through their strategies, but I know that for those who have been hurt and had their hearts broken, it is easy to be sucked into their negative mindset and become bitter. I've made videos on them and their points before, as well as how the internet is making people more lonely, which in turn increases negative emotions and draws them into stances like the red pill. And you can check them out if you want, but honestly they kinda suck. Although depending on your point of view, maybe this one sucks too. Just like almost every argument and discussion, the red pill isn't completely without merit. And like I said in my last video, it's important to explore other viewpoints. Red pill creators are some of the only people speaking to lonely and disenfranchised young men. And even though I believe their tactics can be underhanded and their beliefs can be harmful, they have some good lessons. Getting in shape and becoming more independent are great things. It's just the execution that I and a lot of other people have a problem with. Anyway, I decided after seeing a lot of comments on my last video that I wanted to make something to even the scales a little bit. Because as I stated in that video, people on both sides of the spectrum use these types of tactics to keep themselves relevant. I honestly think the personalities I focused on in that video pretty perfectly exemplified polarization strategies, and I think my points are definitely still valid. But I never intended it to be a political argument, and I want to show that I can make videos on either side calling out dishonest behaviors or arguments that are acting in bad faith. Thank you for all the attention on that video and to my new subscribers. But as I said before, I don't know if I'm going to keep focusing on things like politics in the future. There are a lot of other interesting things to focus on around the internet. But as always, make sure to like the video if you liked it, dislike the video if you disliked it, and leave a comment with your thoughts below, as well as any topics you'd like to see me cover in the future. And in the spirit of talking about StephIsCold again, make sure to click that subscribe button to join the BBC team. We accept all people, but we'd be more motivated to accept you if you paid $197. Alright, see ya.